Ever wonder what makes the greats great? What makes the successful successful? What makes the brilliant brilliant? Our Tuesday meetups with the celebrities of pharma industry and science are your one-stop shop to all these answers and more. Join us for Pies of Life, an initiative of the Biopatrika Industry Mentorship Program, where we bring your dream mentors to you.
All right, so welcome all to our Pies of Life. This Tuesday, we have with us an infection biologist from the Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Biology, who effortlessly combines work and play. He's one of the few who completed his PhD in less than 4 years, with several papers published, as well as a cover page article. It isn't just science that holds his heart, though. He's an avid photographer, documentary maker, SciComm enthusiast, and traveler. Jack may be dull, but he sure isn't. To demystify publishing so you don't perish, welcome to a Tete with Alibek Galeev. Alibek, I'd like to invite you to share your slides and tell us your life story in your words now.
Wow, yeah, thank you, Charu, for such a wonderful introduction. Let me share my slides. Can you see them?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I mean, thanks again for your invitation. And I have some insight, but to make sure, like, not all my papers are cover pages of the journals, but I do have some experience. So maybe it will be helpful for you guys. Yeah, so I actually didn't really prepare my life story slides, but I can tell you just like that. So I'm originally from Russia, and I did my bachelor in food science and microbiology in Chelyabinsk. It's South Ural State Agriculture University. And then I proceeded with food microbiology and moved to Helsinki, University of Helsinki, where I did my master in also food microbiology program. And after the completion of my master degree, I moved to Germany and then to the Hannover Medical School, where I did my PhD in infection biology with Professor Günther Grassel, and I studied Salmonella. And now I moved a bit further north to Kiel, and I now work at Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Biology, as Charu mentioned. Nevertheless, I continuously working, and I'm still working with the pathogens. This is gram-negative bacteria mostly. So if you're interested in that, also you can drop me a message, because we're actually now looking for a PhD student who can potentially join our project that we have. So with that, we can start. So in principle, when you talk about covers and journals, we of course talking about internet age and thumbnails and stuff like website banners, because as Egan mentioned already, like he pointed out in 1984, the print is dead. So I don't know when you last time actually saw and hold in your hands the journal, printed journal. It's been a while for me. Like some libraries at the institutes, they actually subscribe to the Nature Science, but of course not to every journal. So nowadays you get all the information online, as well as the papers. Now, in this way, I would rephrase the question, which was the title of this talk, to more broadly, how to get your data, maybe one figure or your vision from your publication to appear on a journal cover or on the website of the journal as a header, or even as a tweet of the publisher. Because in the end, you want to have your idea or your project to be exposed to as many people as possible, and you would want to translate your maybe research finding and your or your hypothesis. So nevertheless, the first thing, of course, you need to get it published, or more broadly, to be you need to have your story accepted in proper format on some sort of a journal which has ideally high impact, right? However, nowadays we talk about preprints. So, and this is completely different topic, which is beyond the topic of this or scope of this talk actually, because there's tons of preprint now archives available. And of course, if you're a biologist or microbiologist or biologist in general, you know bioRxiv, of course, or medRxiv, but there's like tons of more. And this, in my opinion, it will also change the whole landscape of how we, of course, publish in stories and how we present our stories, and also in terms of covers, because at least nowadays I follow the many papers as a preprints, and I always thought, you know, it would be also cool to see images or pictures or data from these preprints on my Twitter feed. By the way, you can follow also me. And the preprints, of course, it's not peer-reviewed story, but as you know from maybe mathematics or physics, this is how the way how you claim your authorship on the idea itself. So I think in the future also we are biologists will be more exposed, and we will be forced even to put our stories as a preprints. And maybe you know already some journals like eLife, they're already pushing this thing. So this is very interesting topic on its own, but let's say for this sake of this talk, we are focusing on the proper journals and publication wise. So when we talk about a journal, of course, you want your story appear on the cover, but you know, there's hundreds of other stories in this issue, like at least 50 or 20, it depends on the journal. And because, as I mentioned earlier, we are now living in the internet age and stuff, it's all the web issues, which has tons of papers, usually hundreds of papers in the one issue of journal. And why the editor then should pick your story to put it on the cover, to put it simply, because in the end, actually, it's up to journal editor or maybe several people, but there's like a decision makers who make this decision. And this particular person, of course, he or they have biases. And this is something which you cannot really change. It has to do with agenda. For example, now you know what's everywhere on the minds and in the news. And if you're not working with viruses like me, you have not that much chance in the end. But it's also about politics, you know, personal relationships with this certain people in the field. And also the topic, as I already mentioned, there are certain topics considered like sexy and some not. Country, this is a little bit also difficult for you to change. Let's say if your research institution is located in Africa or Asia, and even though you're doing the super nice research, but some people have biases and already they can judge you just based where you come from, and then your story being even published will never get to the cover. So this is unfortunate, but it also depends on the journal editor, on the publishing board, and etc. The lab, of course, were the labs, you know, some labs they're infamous and some famous, and some you see certain big labs publish in Nature almost every week or something, every month at least. For them, of course, it's easier. If you're a PhD student in this big lab, it's effortlessly, you can kind of join the big story and get a paper. So, but you know, life is not fair. So what you can do, you can try to achieve and try to fulfill some requirements which will help you to get a story published on the cover. So first of all, I would say your story should be very sound and solid science-wise. Like, this is the thing, you know, in principle, this should apply to publication regardless is it on the cover or not. If you want your story to be published, it should be sound, it should be scientific story. But, you know, there's so many predatory journals and there's so many low impact factor journals, but even the high impact actually. Like, I personally don't really look myself into the impacts anymore because there is, let's say, some questionable stuff has been published before in very good journals. So it's not only about that, but it's just yourself. You have to be sure, 100% sure that what you're publishing, it's worth it. It's worth the cover, to put it simply. And the second thing, it's that the findings or the results or your idea, it should be of interest. And this is a little bit depends on what journal you're submitting to, because there are some, you know, general journals like I don't know, Nature Science, Nature Communications, whatever, which aim to the general audience. And of course, if you are describing some super rare thing which nobody is interested in, then you will never make it to the cover. So unless you submit it to the journal which is famous in your field, something like, I don't know, Proceedings of Chemical Biologists of India, and then of course of Russia, whatever, then you can make it to the easier on the cover, of course. But either way, it should be interesting and it should be novel, and the novelty is also something which inherently should be in the paper, regardless, again, is it on the cover or not. But from my experience, I think editors, they tend to put the novel findings on the cover more easily because it's super new. Now, the phenotype, this is a little bit also that you cannot change much, but ideally it should be black and white. The meaning that whatever the effect you're showing of, is it treatment or infection, or it can be cancer, whatever treatment, it should be clearly distinguishable, and it should be the clear message within this phenotype, ideally, because in the end it's a visual representation of your work. So there are certain, you know, because you can still have abstract ideas, and I can show you a little bit later how you can also achieve that, but let's say it will be easier for you if you have something to show as a phenotype. Following this line, in the end, you should be able to provide or produce a high-resolution image, because in the end, if you make it to the cover, they, of course, it's a printing or it's a web design thing, so it's a 300 dpi minimum resolution, and it should be a really nice image. Which again maybe explains why some journals often put microscopy images on the covers, and I will also come to this. But again, it can be as abstract as you can imagine. Maybe you also notice that nowadays, especially big journals, they hire really professional scientific communicators and people who can draw and who can create nice images, and they will do it for you. But in the end, you need to deliver this message to them, so you can work together with them, and then you will get what you want. Yeah, and by the way, yeah, you can ask questions, interrupt, I guess it's anytime. Okay, so, and I think now we can just look at the covers, because if we're talking about covers, you need to know what other people are doing, right? So for the Nature, for example, what kind of covers? I just quickly went to the website and just took a snapshot, basically. But this is from last year, and here you can see the first one. It's a 3D art, but it's related to the paper on carcinoma, so it's a cancer research. And this is about treatment, and that's why they put these errors inside. So this is exactly the example that I mentioned, that you don't have to produce microscopic images. You can just present your idea like that. And sometimes they have drawings like this is the physics on the right. There's it is X-rays or lasers, which almost impossible to capture as a photograph anyway. So you have to draw this stuff, or like neutron star, whatever. So that's also a nice image. But like the third one, this is a real, actually, microscopy image. They have this objectives and the nanoparticles, and they can see this levitation in real life. So this is an example of real life image, which let's imagine you submitted your story to Nature, and then you got it accepted, and then the editor will contact you, and they will ask you to actually visit the lab and capture this image, because they think it's so important that they feel this urge to put it on the cover, right? So I guess in the end for you, it doesn't matter, is it a real image or 3D art like on the left, but you know, this is something to consider anyway, because what you can do always, actually, you can also suggest things to them at certain stage. Maybe it's more like after the acceptance of your paper, but still. And now the final one, this is just again artistic drawing of the human data story, which is it looks okay. I mean, it's there's certain people who prefer certain type of images, like so nature is not my favorite in this regard. I can show you later. So what's my but if you go into cell, for example, so this is completely different, because maybe you notice cells, they only do, or at least lately, they only do drawings and the abstract stuff. They don't put often microscopy. It's all the stories which told by the professional creators and professional painter, whatever, 3D artist. So which is, I mean, it looks nice. Yes.
A quick question. Hi, Alibek, I'm Shruti. So as you were mentioning about the cover, this cover letter, the front page. So I just wanted to know, like whatever picture it is, does it represent that research papers which are there inside the journal? I mean, whether it represents the theme of the entire journal. And how do we get to know what will be the theme? Like, do we have to approach the journal? Like, just wanted to know.
Exactly. No, it's a good question. So it depends. So sometimes, you know, many journals, they do special issues. So for example, this month's issue will be devoted to cancer, or only to certain bacterium. And then, of course, if you submit your story and you have a nice image of this bacterium, you have way more chances to get onto the cover, because the whole cover month's issue will be about this particular thing. But as you know, with Nature and Science and Cell, they're more broad. Like I said, they're general audience journals, and they have really hundreds of articles from not only biology, like Nature and Science, they do also like physics, chemistry, mathematics, like everything. So that's why I would say, as a biologist, I guess we're all biologists here. So there you, by definition, have lower chances to get on the cover. But I wouldn't actually myself worry too much, because anyway, if you get published in this kind of journals, you're happy already, I guess. So, but you know, just to let you know, in the general journals for the general audience, you have lower chances, because simply, you know, you have a cool image from, let's say, material science research from some stuff. Yeah. Yes, Cheryl.
Yeah, Alibek, I'm really enjoying your talk so far. You know, you've already contrasted the covers for Nature and Cell. And continuing with Shruti's question, don't you think it takes away a lot if you use just these kind of artistic impressions, or do you think it adds value in terms of general people actually wanting to pick up these journals, because they're no longer magazines? No one goes to a library anymore. Everything's online.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good question. I agree with you, Charles. So, like I mentioned, also it's not printed anymore. Mostly, it's online, and but I can show you actually in a click. Well, in a bit here, if you can see. This is just one example of the cell, and this is artistic representation. What you asked for. Would you pick this up if you see this? It's just a building with the cats and with the people. Can you guess what about the story, why they put it?
No, I mean, I wouldn't pick it up, because I mean, I see Cell, and if I want to read Cell, I would pick it up, but otherwise it just seems like Pulp Fiction. Yeah,
it's lame, because it's lame. This particular image is lame. I don't know why they did that, but the story actually, it's quite cool. It's about Mycobacterium tuberculosis, what they put as a tag there. It's about CRISPR interference and drug development. And it hits all the notes, you know. It's a very timely, because, you know, antimicrobial resistance. It's very cool because the technology they use, actually. So it's really nice paper, actually. But the way how they present it, it doesn't make sense, because they just say this analysis of gene vulnerability can open up windows of opportunity. That's why they put windows as a New York building city, from New York City.
Yeah, it's like Art Nouveau for science.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like this particular. Yeah, so Cell, I mean, I think they can do better. Yeah. Yes, and this is what I can show you. What my favorite is Science. it's like the most beautiful and really quality images from all kind of, they all have nice real photographs, like you can see on the top row, there's some landscapes and the people, real people, and also they have 3D nice drawings, they have everything, but the quality, you know, it's like from the Discovery Channel, so even better. So I think the science is doing a really good job in terms of the covers, and they really highlight good stories as well. And it's mostly, and I think you more often see also the biology related stuff. They care about nature. There's often like some animals and, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I think science it's my favorite in terms of covers. And again, you can also see some abstract here. For example, this 12th of March, this I think some from chemistry related whatever thingy, or physics, magnetars, or paleontology, or you have yeah, but mostly it's really nice pictures. So and again, I think in this case, when they want to take actually photo, I don't think they ask you, because not everyone can produce this as nice as they want. So they send their photographers, and then they just take a picture. And then also usually they also do, you know, interviews with you, short ones, and then they also publish. So I think it's really cool. So yeah, this is like ideal scenario to publish in Science and to have you on the cover. Okay. So I see, is there, okay. Now we can move on to more specific journals. So I pick PLOS pathogens because this is what we use to our field, infection biology. And now here you can see the difference already, because if you look the covers from the different issue from the months, different months, it's a microscopy. They like microscopy images, and they like, because here you can see like some bacteria, parasites interacting with the host cells. So this is very specific stuff which general audience will never get, but we will get it, you know. So, and I mean, I like some of them. I mean, not all of them, but some of them, they're really cool. And I mean, why not, right? It just, I guess in the end, like I said, it depends on your topic, what you're actually doing. So what's your field of study? What's your subject? And then you can tweak it a little bit and decide, like, do I have microscopy imagery, or do I have like, or should I take some maybe microscopy images, and then submit. So yeah. Now to move on with PLOS pathogens, they even have the striking image concept. So this makes life easier. You know, some journals, they ask you to provide an image which you think captures the spirit and maybe also the whole concept of your story, and then they will consider this image for a cover. And this is what PLOS pathogens do. Also, I think PLOS in general, journals, they do that. So, and they even say, you see, there's a striking and eye-catching way. So you need to think about that. It's like I mentioned before, it should be strong phenotype, ideally. And they also have some technical requirements. And then you simply click when you submit your paper, manuscript, you have this additional box. You just click strike an image and then upload it and then send it together. So this is very easy. Not every journal is doing that actually, but many nowadays do that. Strike an image stuff. Okay, so now I can move on actually to our story, which we got to cover in this magazine, actually in the PLOS pathogens. And so we had this story about STD Fimbria and Foucault's interaction. And the STD Fimbria is this, if you maybe know, it's the bacterium, or the Salmonella expresses this Fimbria, which is a proteins type of appendices on the cell surface, which can bind to the surfaces and then assist the adhesion of the bacterium and then invasion. So we, in this story, looked into the interaction of the Foucaults, which is the simple sugar of the host site, and the Fimbria on the bacterial side. And we discovered that it promotes inflammation in vivo and also colonization of the mouse. And we had many macroscopy images from the story, and this is just one example where we express this fimbria in E. coli now, and we used organoid-derived monolayer here, which express in green fucose and the red is bacteria, and then we see more colocalization of the fucose, CD8 fibria expressing bacteria with the fucose compared to the control, which does not express this fimbria in the first place. And this is just a codification of the B. So this was nice, and one would say, you know, when we are submitting the story, we thought, should we just propose this image as a striking image, or what we should do, basically, which figure we should pick. And I remember I discussed it with my mentor, and actually we went and I went and specifically took image, this one. So it's specifically for cover, or with intention to get on the cover. Is the same phenotype, but it's just more clear here because we don't have other backgrounds, and it's just that you see the green fucose and the red bacteria, which tend to aggregate with this and colocalize. So we sent exactly this image to the PLOS pathogens as a striking concept, and they accepted that, and then we got cover July 2019. And yeah, so this is, I mean, how it works for us. I mean, I think it's also individual cases for individual projects and stuff, but it's relatively straightforward, actually. You just need to know what exactly your phenotype, and you need to highlight it as much as possible. And you need to acquire also high resolution image if we talk about microscopy, because this we went to confocal microscope for that. And yeah, you just need then try your luck. So now very quickly to show another example. So this is another story which we didn't make it to the cover, unfortunately, for this journal, Medical Microbiology, but I just want to show you that you can, if you don't have microscopy, you can generate this 3D, which we created with a friend of mine. He's a 3D artist, so we created together this image for our review. This is a review paper, and it's also there. So you know, I think it's quite nice. So at least in my opinion. All right. So yeah, and here you just see some mucus and bacterium and some pathogens and microbiota and stuff like that. So to sum up already, first you need to trust your data and be creative and be proactive, meaning that even if the journal doesn't have this striking image already at the uploading submission stage, you just write to the editor or and then say, hey, I have this nice image, you know, maybe you can consider that. Yeah, I think with that, I can stop the sharing. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Alibek. And also, like, a big thank you for being so super honest, and of course giving us hope that even without a godfather, rich big lab, other political assets, you can still publish and you can go on the cover. It was a really good insight, because there were several softwares that you mentioned, several avenues for publishing a cover page article, for getting your images that good. And I think it's really all about that image, right? A picture speaks 1,000 words. So the floor is now open for questions. Please raise your hand or drop them in the chat box if you don't have good internet connection. Nikhil will announce the lucky first questioner. And please introduce yourself to our guest before you begin drilling him.
I also wanted to ask, from the last slide, you mentioned trust your data. I have a question on that. Now, if you read a lot of journals and the data you get is completely opposite, so how you get the confidence to present that data which doesn't support the research papers that you have read?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yes, you are talking about also often in your field, in many fields also, you read some previous publications, and there's some contradictory piece of evidences, and especially it hits when you do the same research on the same topic, and then what you want to publish, it's not really in the line, I mean, with the previous observations. That's okay. Yeah, it's a bit hard then. So it's basically you're going against the current, and you're kind of yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, you should trust it, not well because you produced it. You should trust it also because statistical reasons, of objective reasons, like not it's not a, it's not like, we're talking about the trust, but the trust, it's actually, you can trust some others' data or not trust, but your data, you have to trust it, or otherwise there's no point to do science. And by saying trust, I mean you need to validate it several times, of course, and you need to see that it's really significant. If we talk about significance, and then you, even if it's against every other publication, you publish it, and if it get published, then it's also might get the cover, and then it's even it's a new piece of evidence which shows something new angle. Yeah, it's like there are some dogmas, of course, but last year, actually, I don't know if you saw, we saw some dogmas which being destroyed, like the RNA is being glycosylated apparently, and LPS being ubiquitinated, this kind of stuff. So it can happen. So just trust your data.
And then Vihang.
I think Vihang can ask his question, and then I'll do the next one.
Okay, Vihang, please unmute yourself and ask.
Okay, hi. I hope I'm audible.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Hi. It was a very nice talk. I enjoyed your presentation. I just wanted to ask you one thing: that how important is it to have been featured on the front page of a journal? Like, does it really increase the visibility of your research to the audience of the journal? Like, because as we were discussing in the beginning, that the print media is kind of dying, like everything is coming on online platforms. Yes. And like what drives more visibility on online platforms is the search engine optimization, and like how your hit is getting ranked higher, in search results or something like this. So, so is that feature gonna help you in having that kind of an impact or a visibility?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, certainly. So to be on the cover helps if you're on the cover, but nowadays we are not talking about be on in the beginning of the journal or the end. Doesn't matter. It's all online. It has the DOI number and stuff on the web page and site and stuff, address. So it's more about tweeting and sharing and spreading. So, but this helps, sometimes. Actually, all the time, journals themselves, they highlight certain research in social media. So you can see, you can see, like if you follow, I'm sure you follow some journals, and they physically can highlight all of the 100 articles from every issue. So they pick the best one, and often the best one is the ones which makes also on the cover at the same time. But so basically it's up to the journal to highlight. But even if they don't do this, you can do it yourself. You can just promote your research on Twitter yourself. Nobody, it's up to you. And this definitely, this is increases. I saw this myself. It increases visibility and then also citation, because for us, we want citations. We don't just want some reading. So like totally, I recommend to put on Twitter everywhere, because people see it on Twitter and then they read it and then maybe hopefully cite it. So it's all about that. And what people do actually, or you don't just share the link, you can also share some images yourself, and also you do like a thread, and then you explain your story really detailed, and then this helps, because you don't need to rely on a journal, some editor who is, you don't know them and stuff. Like it's easier when you know people, but it's not we are not that privileged to live in Princeton, in Harvard, and seeing next door those guys all the time. So it's up to you. You just need to forward it.
Okay, that's a great insight. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Alibek, so my question to you is, you already talked a little bit about preprints. You talked about these archives where you can put your data before it's peer reviewed to claim ownership. What other forms of science communication do you think are becoming critical now? I know that there's a video paper journal where you make a video of, and so like what other forms apart, like I'm not talking about social media, but what else can you do really to get science out there, because you're not going to get published. Not everyone gets published in Nature, and it's true that you submit stories to Nature and then they give it to a reviewer who's also working on the same thing. They don't want you to get published, and you kind of get sidelined.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think it's a good question also from your side. It's true about publishing. I mean, it's a big topic, publishing on itself, regardless of cover page, not cover page. It's like we cannot affect and we can't influence those guys in the power. And but what you can do, preprints is one thing, but another thing, like the video, it's only few journals do video, it's not like a standard or something. It's only experimental still. This Java journal, which is actually, I like it. And I myself use a couple of times some protocols which they publish as a videos. It's really helpful. So, but to promote your story, your science, you can use podcasts. So the podcast, this is what growing also nowadays, and you just and this is aimed specifically for certain fields like immunologist or virologist, and then there's a really high chance they will cite you actually. But you need to also get to know those people and reach them who is organizing these podcasts. And with the Twitter, it is a social media, but nowadays it's more like a networking platform for us, for scientists actually. So you can directly message some scientists there, and you can, but I mean, of course, in that it's how many followers you have. It depends on that. So if you have like 10 followers, it doesn't make a big difference. So like, and some guys, I'm sure who has like thousands, and they just posting memes and stuff, and occasionally they post maybe the paper. So it's, I mean, it's a bit hard. And I mean, I'm sure you can even do TikToks nowadays if you want and promote your science. It just, I don't know. It depends. It depends. But with the podcast, I think it's a high chance, like a really good chance to get cited, and also just being visible in, like, the still conferences, like it's professional meetings, and they still help. Otherwise, I think what's the real problem nowadays? We're a little bit overwhelmed. There is so many articles on so many fields and on so many topics that it's a little bit also hard that your piece of research, which can be super good, it's just been lost there. You just put it there, and then it's you let's say you go to the Google Scholar and you type cancer, like, I don't know, IL-10, whatever, and then there's 100,000 of articles, and out of them 1,000 from the last year, and out of them maybe 100 from high-ranking impact journals, which get cited usually only because of the journal, not because of they good study or not. So like, I think I know, like, because I can tell you, like, I have my own story which we published in Frontiers, which is not super high journal. It's like a low tier journal, but it's still a good one journal, I think. And I think it's a nice story, and we did quite a bit of work, but it's not being cited because people just didn't notice that, and they did notice that because of this, what you asked. There is they maybe a little bit lack of attention or lack of promotion at the same time. So.
Sorry, Shruti. I would like to add to what Alibek said, and this is what we have also seen is, this is the response to Charu's question. Some of the journals themselves ask the authors to make 30 seconds to 1 minute video of one image and record what are the key findings to layman. And these are promoted on Twitter and YouTube. Like, some of my friends had done that. So that is one way the journals themselves are promoting what Alibek mentioned at the last. Like, if your article is in one of the most common search terms, it's gonna get lost. And the journals don't want that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks both of you.
Yeah. Shruti, please.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know your opinion about selecting a particular journal. So whether I should go for a general, the journal that caters for general public like Nature or Cell, or some specialized journal which focuses on my area of research. So which one should I go for?
Yeah, it's a hard question. It's always a choice, and I would say depends. I mean, it's like, okay, so usually what we do, we consider both specialized and the general audience journals, but what's more important, they should be of equal level, because otherwise, you know, there are some really good specialized journal, but they're super low level and nobody will notice this, even in the field actually somehow. And this is another problem, which I think, I don't know, nowadays it's we have 1 million journals, all kind of type of journals, many some predatory journals, but also good ones, but still they are super tiny field ones. So it's hard to keep up, and it's you know, everyone knows, like, I don't know, MBio or PLOS biology, or like, I don't know, scientific reports, whatever. But there are some good ones also which buried because they are cryptic ones. So, and usually those ones also have a low impact factor at the same time. So I would say if you go for the one which is for your field, you still should go the more general one, you know, like with the PLOS pathogen, it's rather kind of not super high impact factor, but it's still known in our field of infection biology. That's why we chose it. So it's yeah, otherwise, you know, it would be like MBio or something. So yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, it also depends on your story, how you write it actually, because, you know, you write a text, you write a manuscript, and then in this manuscript you can be as broad as possible or as specific as possible. It's up to you. So it starts with the title actually. So the title that you put, and then the abstract that you put, this is all also can, you know, define the journal. But yeah, I don't have like, you know, like there's no simple solution to that. You always need to think, like, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to interrupt here because we only have the hour, and I think we should get to know you a little bit more, Alibek. So Shruti has an exciting rapid fire round. You don't get to think about the answer. You just say the first thing that comes in your mind. And for everybody else who didn't get to ask questions, I'm putting Alibek's LinkedIn profile in the chat box. So just go ahead and send him your queries, bombard his inbox.
Okay, let's play the rapid fire round. So it was a great session. Let's get to know about you a lot more. Okay, so describe yourself in 3 words.
Fast, hardworking, sleepless.
Your favorite place to do research in Europe?
Germany.
Okay. What is the one thing that not many researchers are paying attention to?
I would say it's a cleanliness, the how clean your lab is actually.
One scientific contribution that you're proud of?
Only one, okay. I would say role of proteoglycan in the endolysosomal fusion in the salmonella infection.
Okay. So in your career, you have transitioned to different domains. First, you were in food microbiology, then you studied medical, then evolutionary biology. So which one did you enjoy the most?
Infection biology, that's for sure.
If a movie is based out of you, what will be the theme of it?
Theme, like a theme song, or just the overall theme?
Theme of the movie.
Okay, don't give up.
Okay. Okay. So, you know, many people would like to switch their job when they're at the peak of their career. And some people would like to be stable, be at that job, whatever they are doing. So what would be your preference?
I would switch. actually.
In your peak of the career?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what would you like to do when you're not working in your free time?
To watch movies.
Okay. And the last question, what would be your vision for the next 10 years?
Oh, that's a good one. I still will do science, and either as a PI or in the industry. That's for sure.
Wow, it was great talking to you. Very nice session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you, Alibek. I think you certainly helped those of us in academia and those who long for their name in print. Please send in your burning questions to Alibek personally. His information is in the chat box.
A network should last a lifetime. Let us help you create lasting professional relationships with our world-class mentors through the Biopatrika Industry Mentorship Program. A strategic guidance program unlike no other, full of expert interviews, industry internship opportunities, CV writing, inflection point analysis, life maps, and of course, the gateway to your dream career. For a limited time only, all our services are freely available for you as we truly want you to succeed.